Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Millionaires Express, also known as Shanghai Express, a Hong Kong action comedy from 1986. This review is based on the original Hong Kong theatrical version. Now, the Far East meets the Old West in this iconic action-based adventure from writer-director Sammo Hung. And Sammo also stars as a lovable rogue who teams up with an incorruptible sheriff, played by Yuen Biao, to save their hometown from certain destruction. Now, featuring an explosion of brawls, bandits, and bordellos, Millionaires Express is Sammo's loving tribute to classic Western tropes. You know, a dynamic fusion of martial arts, death-defying stunts, and physical comedy. And the plot has so many subplots and characters, it's pointless to go through them all here. Now, this film opens with Sammo mistakenly walking into a Russian military drill, which results in some humiliation on his part. But he uses some deception to get out of the situation, and that results in an amusing giant snowball sequence, which is the first kind of set piece in the film. It's good. And after that, we get another amusing scene where Sammo and Suho Chin attempt to defend some prostitutes from a mob of angry wives. And the final line of dialogue in that comedic scene, from 1986, mind you, is a perfect example of where we're at in 2021, so it's really hilarious. And there's, this is a film that really relies a lot on comedy early on, and some stunt work, of course. We get a building fire rescue scene that's pretty neat, and it ends with an insane stunt involving Yuen Biao. You'll have to see it to believe it. Erik Tsang, who a lot of people know, provides some additional comic relief throughout the film. There's this, horse versus motorbike chase that's pretty good in the middle of the film. There's a good fist fight between Sammo and Yuen. And there's a funny set piece where a bunch of people attempt to hide in a large hotel room. I know that some people don't really like Hong Kong-style humor, but I do think it works quite well in this. It's kind of a mix of physical and verbal comedy. Definitely has a charm to it, and I did chuckle fairly frequently. Even Yasuaki Kurata plays a goofier character in this film. So it works. Now, I mentioned in my reviews of Wind Blast and The Good, the Bad, the Weird from back in the day that Asian Westerns are not exactly common. So there's a certain fascination that comes with watching a film like this, if only because it's a rarity. And there is some attention to detail in terms of set designs and props. During that fire sequence that I mentioned, they use a very ancient-looking fire truck of sorts. It's kind of this little thing that they wheel out. But it was pretty neat to see. The clothing seemed to be appropriate for the times as well, and the homages to Westerns are neat to see as well. There also seems to be some homages to silent films. There's certainly enough entertainment value to hold your attention, but most of the high-quality action is backloaded into the final 20 minutes. Some of the highlights include Yuen Biao versus Dick Wei, Sammo Hung versus Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton versus Yasuaki Kurata, and Yukari Oshima versus a bunch of goons. Very high-quality martial arts fighting in this. We get some wide camera shots, expert choreography, and great execution by the actors, which includes some hard-hitting strikes and stunts. Very cool blend of different fighting styles as well. You get some comedic stuff mixed in with fist fighting, acrobatics, and even some sword play. So the finale definitely satisfies in this film. However, there's a reason why I typically do not mention Millionaires Express as one of my personal favorite action movies. It suffers from Destroy All Monsters syndrome. Okay? Remember Destroy All Monsters? It was that kaiju film that had so many monsters that it consequently shortchanged a bunch of them with limited screen time. And that's exactly what Millionaires Express does with these actors. Now, you have this much martial arts talent in your movie, and you wait until the final 20 minutes to properly showcase it. That's a bad decision, in my mind. And, I know, we get this Sammo versus Yuen fight, and a very brief scuffle involving Yasuaki and Yukari, but that's really all we get in terms of memorable fights during the first 80 minutes of this film. And guess what? There are a bunch of other actors in this film I haven't even mentioned in this review. It's loaded with action movie talent, which makes it a little bit frustrating, all right? But Erik, you might say, well, this was kind of a Chinese New Year's film. It's supposed to be kind of more of a comedy. That's nice. I don't care. There are no excuses for this. I'm not asking for the world here. I'm not asking for In the Line of Duty 4, which has an action scene every 10 minutes. Although, looking at the cast list, I probably should be expecting that. With this cast, it's probably what I should expect. But I'm not asking for that. What I'm asking for is this. You know, you could throw in all the comedy that you want, have your little New Year's film, but this movie desperately needed, like, 2 more legit fights in the first 80 minutes of the film. All right? Preferably using the actors who got shortchanged. So, personally, I would have liked to have seen Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton get another solid fight scene in the middle of the film, you know, against a bunch of goons or whatever. Feel free to add another fight in there using any other actors of your choosing. If Millionaires Express did that, it would have elevated to a higher tier for me. You know, as is, it's certainly an entertaining film in its own right, and I seem to enjoy it a little bit more every time I watch it, if only because I've gotten used to the utter lack of screen time for a lot of these actors. So overall, though, I do recommend it. It gets very good reviews online, but I would say if you have not seen this, and you're really pumped for like an all-out action flick, I would go in with lowered expectations. I mean, really, we get a few really short fights during the first 80 minutes and then a big finale at the end, which does satisfy. All right, but just going with the right expectations of this. It recently had a Blu-ray release from Eureka, which is currently the easiest way to watch it. So I do recommend this. I don't rank it quite as highly as a lot of other people do for the reasons I mentioned, but definitely worth checking out. And as always, we will see you next time.